Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 36 of the Print Design Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Hopkins, and thanks for stopping by here. Now, before I introduce today's guests, and before we get to that incredible conversation, we're diving into amazing craft beer label designs, how they were created, stories behind them, and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to tell you about the Craft Beer Label Design course. Yes, it's called the Craft Beer Label Design course, but it should just be the label design course because what we teach in this course applies to all labels: beauty products, food products, beverage products, health and wellness products, like whatever needs a label. The fundamentals in this course apply to that. The last time we opened this course up, we had over 290 designers join us, and they are growing and leveling up their print design, their label design careers, adding it and implementing it with their current customers, pursuing new customers and new types of business because of this course. To find out more information, go over to printdesignacademy.com, and the doors for the course are only open from June 22nd to June 26th. That's it. We close them down at the end of the day on June 26th because then we go into serving our new members and helping them implement the content, answering their questions, and really helping them take advantage of the content that we're teaching in this course. This time in the course, we also have added a number of things, one being a 40-page workbook for you to print out and go through with the video course. Second thing is we partnered up with Nick from Longo Designs again to teach you Adobe Dimension, creating incredible design mock-ups with your flat files with ease, like it's dead easy. We've also included branding a brewery with Josh, who's a local brewery owner here where I live, and we talked all about, how to brand a brewery from the first logo concept all the way to 2 locations and barrel-aged special release beers, core beers, interior decor, merch stuff. We talk about all of that. We've also added a Facebook group. Now, this was asked about before and how designers could connect with one another after the course. We've created it. This time, when you sign up for the course, you are into the private Facebook group for course members only, where there's live Q&A, more teaching, pop-up lessons, and course and like mini courses and teachings within that Facebook group. So there's going to be some awesome stuff there. Do not miss this opening. It opens tomorrow, Tuesday, June 22nd. Closes again June 26th. If you want to find out more, go to printdesignacademy.com. Can't wait to see you in there. Now, today's guests are a couple of really cool dudes you probably have heard of, Jordan and Jeremy from Brethren Design Co. They have been pumping out incredible label design work for their customer Slice Beer. And back when I talked to Jordan on the Quickie podcast, we actually were making jokes, pepperoni porter, like some pizza themed names. But they've done an incredible job creating an amazing image and really just designs that look more like art. And they just get to have complete fun with creative and complete creative freedom in creating some of these things. I say create a lot. Create. Anyways, you get the idea. But this interview not only goes over the stories of some of those beer labels and things like that and how they came to be. We pull them up on the screen, we show you them, but it's just fun. These guys are fun to chat with. So enough of me talking. Let's get right into the episode. Here we go.
Welcome to the Print Design Podcast, the show where we talk about all things print and packaging. We go behind the scenes with designers and talk about the print projects they designed that really rock their world. From file prep to holding the finished product in their hand and all the key decisions in between. So, let's talk ink on paper.
Jordan and Jeremy, welcome to the Print Design Podcast. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Great, Jordan. I love the pause.
That's not you.
He's like,
we just instinctively talk at the same time, no matter what. Yeah, doing good.
Yeah, usually on these I tend to let Jordan chime in, but if he pauses too long, then I'll jump in there. But
Yeah, exactly. Right when his thought is complete and he's ready to go,
Mhm.
you're just like
then I'll
firing.
and then it'll happen again.
I love it. Well, I'll try and be like, Jordan, how about this question? Jeremy, how about this one? I'll
Yeah,
try
that
and like
that definitely helps for sure.
go,
Sure.
man. All right, I'll be the traffic controller on this one.
Yeah.
Beauty. Okay, well, Jordan, we'll start with you, man. Being you're the older, give what is that, age before beauty kind of thing? Is that
Yeah.
isn't that what they say? So we'll start with you, man. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Brethren?
Brethren is just me and my brother kind of doing our thing. We started posting work individually on Instagram, then we're getting some freelance stuff, and we are like, let's start working together. And Brethren just kind of formed organically. We started with mostly doing merchandise and like apparel type stuff.
Mhm.
Finally got into branding. We were definitely interested in getting into beer, like always, and we got lucky. And Slice found us through Instagram, and they were kind of our first like client that was actually, almost like a retainer that we've been working with them for like 2 years now. And since then, we're starting to work with other breweries because of the work they let us do. So that's kind of the short story of Brethren, I guess.
Awesome. Sorry, how long have you guys been officially like brethren together?
3.5 years ish.
Right? Yeah, like since we made a Brethren logo and started like being Brethren. Yeah, hoping
That's the moment when it's real, right,
Yeah.
Jeremy? When there's a logo, then it's real.
Once we made the Instagram account, and then it took a little bit longer to like, actually develop the LLC and, get super legit. So
we just paid taxes this year for the first time. So this is like, now we're a real business.
Yeah.
We got a bank account. We have an accountant.
Got
You have an
checks with
accountant?
Brethren on it.
Yeah.
Dude, you got checks with it. Yeah, that's the real deal. There's no going back now.
Yeah. I feel like this is our first year of like, last year was our first year of like real business.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and we were chatting about that before we hit record. And Jeremy, you were saying that you guys were smoking busy last year, especially on the beer label design side. How many labels did you guys crank through?
Yeah, I want to say about 50 or 50 plus. I mean,
yeah,
a lot. So
that's a ton. So yeah, you just do the math on that. That's basically a label a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we were doing 4 to 5 labels for most of 2020 with Slice.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
So when Slice comes to you and says, hey guys, we're going to do another label for this beer, do they come to you with like an idea or a concept for the label, or do they just come to you and say, hey, it's a triple IPA, go to town? What do you think we should call it? What does it look like?
Yeah, mostly they really just give us the name, the hops, if they're collaborating with someone, the percentage, the ABV. We have like a little Excel sheet where it kind of lists it out, but most of the time there's no real direction. Sometimes if we question like where are they getting this name from, like where were their heads at, but otherwise, yeah, pretty much kind of creative freedom with we kind of take the name of the beer and the style and then kind of run with it or whatever what we're thinking.
That's awesome. So then they come to you sort of with this name and idea, and you guys basically get full free reign on the creative and what this thing is going to look like.
Yep. They've been super trustworthy of us. And, certain names, like they did a beer called I Am Your Frother. And it's like, okay, obviously we're going like a Darth Vader route on this. But then we'll have one, like we had one we just did called Nature's Holiday. And I text Russ and I was like, what does Nature's Holiday mean to you? Because I'm like, I don't even know what to design for this. And he's like, well, it's actually like a weed reference. And I was like, I figured it was because like most of their beers are references to weed. Like a lot of them are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. So you got the beer, the weed, you got the pizza, like it all kind of comes together for just like a happy good time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like
all my favorite things.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great, man. Well, you guys sent me a bunch of pictures on these different labels, and I want to pull them up in just a sec here, but I wanted both of your thoughts on this before we get into that. Jordan, I'll start with you. The way you've described working with Slice is how I hear most designer brewery relationships go, where they have a name and a very rough idea, but the designer gets full creative freedom. So in your experience, is that like how do craft beers offer more creative freedom than typical branding and design projects?
I think so. I guess it just depends. Like Slice, I feel like is unique in the sense that they, I mean, we've worked with them from the start. We did their branding, and then we kind of threw the branding away with the cans because everything a limited release, and it was all about having fun or making something really cool and special each time.
Yeah.
So they've given us a lot of freedom, and while it's personally tied to them and means a lot, it's that way with people's brands too. But with branding, you're kind of like, well, this is more about the audience you're connecting with, and beer can be the same way. It's tough to say for me. I just feel like we got lucky with Slice in that sense.
What about you, Jeremy? What do you think?
I mean, we only have like our new client and it was Slice to kind of compare to, but I mean, when I think of, you know, like craft or local, like new breweries, craft breweries, I would say, yeah, probably a little bit more freedom than, you know, more established breweries. Maybe, you know, once a brewery's, you know, been, you know, for a while, they might be a little bit more structured, you know, with their brand, you know, in certain placements, you know, more of a template or something like that. But yeah, and maybe more
distribution versus like where's the beer going, you know, like Slice is right out of the brewery and they're not on the shelves at like stores, so there's no having a system then.
Awesome. Cool. So Jordan and Jeremy, you guys sent me a whole bunch of photos of some of these awesome labels that you guys have done, and I want to sort of just go through a couple of them. Not a couple of them, I'm full of shit there. There's about 6. But I want to pull them up on screen and let's just chat through them. I want to hear a little bit about sort of what the client came to you with in terms of this is the idea. And then just hear about sort of your design process and, you know, if you selected materials and that kind of jazz. So let's start with this one here, the Hippie Cabbage.
Yeah, Hippie Cabbage was the name they came to us with, and obviously it was a weed reference for us. But, you know, on the flip side of that, you know, Jeremy and I were talking about the direction we want to take it, and we were thinking about almost like, you know, lettuce and farm to table type stuff and fruits. And so we kind of did that. We got this like lettucey looking pattern in the background. And this is around the time we switched pretty much all of our production to like this chroming, like the actual label is like foil printed on the back.
Yeah. So it's like the metallic label stock, right?
Yeah. It's metallic label stock. And then you can kind of select what is the metallic's going to come through and what's not. So yeah, it pops hard and it looks so much better in person. And yeah, so we just kind of did this collection of stickers for this one, which I thought turned out nice. We have that little banana, the Dole Rip on that bottom right corner.
Yeah, I like that.
And then, I mean, we got to sneak in the little price tag stuff, which was like the can date. And on the other side, I forgot what we did. We did a price on it. It was like, but the price was $4.20.
Yeah.
Nice. Just like a playful price.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you're using that metallic label stock, you know, you have the choice of what you want to stay that metallic effect or not, right? By wherever you print a white. And that's essentially how you sort of build that depth and that contrast throughout the design.
Yep. Yeah. On the plate, it'll either be like you mark it white for what you want to show through and then not if you don't want it to come through.
Yeah, exactly. So then basically you basically create something that's got a whole bunch of different colors of foil, but it isn't created with the traditional like hot foil stamp and stuff.
It's so badass because at first everything we did was just like a matte can, and once we use one of these, we're like, oh my God, there's like no going back.
Yeah, it just makes it look so much more clean and like more professional, you know.
For sure.
Every single can, like, because they ship us 4-packs of everything, and once we got one of these, we were like, dude, this is the way to go on everything.
So this was the first one where you really did that metallic effect.
It was around the time, like, I don't remember what the first one was. I'm like looking at all, trying to remember.
Diamond cuts, maybe.
Diamond cuts, yeah. Which we didn't put that in the deck, but the diamond cuts was the first. Yeah, I think you're right, because diamond cuts, what we did was the letters like were stroked, and the fill was just actually the can coming through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cool effect, and it creates so much depth on the shelf, and just that shelf pop and shelf presence that you get from it's awesome.
Yeah, it makes that tight pop for sure.
100%.
Yeah. Like our goal is to like make beer cans that all of their customers are taking pictures of, you know?
Yeah.
Yes. When you start seeing them posted to Instagram and the breweries tagged in them, that's when you're like, all right,
Oh yeah,
we got a hit.
Yeah, it's a way to spread the word.
And it's been cool with Slice too, because I mean they're very open about working with us, and now people that are like huge Slice fans will tag us in their photos too.
That's cool.
Which is awesome. Like, you know, there's like random people that get Slice every release, and they'll be like, badass beer, great can, and like tag us and Slice. And I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys this then. So when you first started doing label design for Slice, you know, probably a couple years ago, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, what is a couple of things that you had to really learn the hard way, or some sort of mistakes that you guys made in that label design process, learning label design?
Jeremy, do you have one?
You know, I mean, not right off the top of my head. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of like I don't know, necessarily like a struggle with it. I mean, one thing is with Slice, since they're fresh out of the gate, and you know they wanted each can to be unique. You know, one thing is when you don't have any sort of like system, it takes a little bit more energy and time to create that layout for the label, instead of having designated spots for, you know, logos or you know, even warnings, like general warnings and shit like that. Like so, you know, maybe we might have approached it differently, you know, if we started Slice now, you know. But at the same time, I also love the fucking no rules, and you know, you can do whatever is also pretty badass. So
yeah, that's pretty awesome. And Jordan, what about like maybe your first couple of times working with printers? Like, was that a new process for you guys and figuring that out?
It's actually been very smooth, because Russ, the co-owner of Slice, he is in marketing and design. He's done that for most of his career at a place called Old Town Pizza. So we kind of just deal with him, and then he sends it to the printer. Like he has that relationship with the printer. Like I think I'm trying to think of like a label fuck up that we had that wasn't us necessarily. Oh, we did a beer can called Tales from the Dank, and it has this whole like Tales from the Crypt vibe, and it's super badass. And we were gonna when the printer saw it, they were actually like, "Hey, we can do glow in the dark ink on this," and we were like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." And they printed, you know, like 3,000 labels with and it said can glows in the dark on it, and the glow in the dark ink didn't work. So they ate the cost of that, and we changed it and reprinted it. So there's been things like that we've wanted to try that haven't worked, and we have the ability to do die cuts, and we just actually did our first label doing that, which we might talk about later. But
yeah, so like outside of that typical 473 mil like template, you did your own die cut.
Yep.
Was that your first time doing that?
Yeah, and that beer hasn't been released yet, so we're like the whole time I'm like sweating. Hopefully it like works exactly the way we want, because it really is like an oval in the front with little tags on the end. So I'm hoping there's a lot of cans showing, and I think it's going to look really cool.
Man, that's cool. I think that's a really cool segue for the next one that I wanted to talk about that really stood out to me when I was looking through these pictures. So we'll just take this down and we'll set up the next one here. Because when you said, you know, showing a lot of can, there was one of them that you guys created that looked like, from what I can see in the pictures, that it was a clear label on the can. And I haven't really seen that very much. And I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, I know. Yep, the Crowler. This one, and this is what, you know, this is how we also just kind of upsold Slice on this. You know, they had their regular Crowlers, and we were like, hey man, you want to do like a fun holiday crowler, and they still have a shitload of these left, but I mean, we kept years off of it, everything like that, because they can use it next Christmas as well.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a clear label with just the inks, the 2 inks, and we wanted to do that gold can, and it looks fucking cool.
So the gold can is actually like you can buy the cans that way.
Yeah.
Man, that's cool.
Yeah. The first one they did, like I have it here. It has, I mean, it's actually on like a cream, and then we found out we could do that clear, and it just looks rad.
It looks cool. It almost like immediately takes it to maybe like a vintage kind of vibe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cool Christmas label. I love that one, and that was part of it too. Like the regular slice crowlers, they started doing them in gold cans, and gold is one of the brand colors. So everywhere that there was gold ended up getting knocked out for the can to come through. And once I realized we could do stuff like that, it kind of opened up a whole new world for us.
Man, that's so cool. So in this particular one, how are you printing these? Are these like digitally printed, or are they going flexo, or how are they printing these?
I'm pretty sure that's a straight digital print.
Yep. Digital print on a clear label.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So for when you sent this proof to them, so you kind of came up with this holiday label idea, sold them on it back and forth a whole lot, or was it pretty much like nailed out the gate?
Out the gate.
Out the gate. I mean, luckily with Slice, there's only been like one label that we completely tossed and did from scratch.
Yeah.
And then Jeremy, what do you think? Other than that, revision wise, it's been so minimal.
Yeah, super minimal. I mean, sometimes it's just like they end up changing ABV like later on, and that's like that's it. You
guys are free on that one.
Yeah. Creatively, it's been pretty. It's been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Yeah, this would be a really fun one, creating that sort of festive crowler with a pretty cool see-through label.
Yeah, and we've been talking about doing a summer one now for the last 2 summers, and we haven't gotten around to doing it. But I almost think it would be cool to always have your branded crowlers, but then also have some seasonal ones. Just, I don't know. It's just, people that get those crowlers all the time and take them home. It's awesome to have something new every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Usually on the crowlers that I've seen, there isn't really like a nice branded label. It's almost just like a product label, just so you could differentiate between flavor, but no real branding to it. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it was an afterthought, but the 473 mils and everything else is just branded like crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's an important touch point.
100% agree. Okay, I'm going to switch over to like a fun one right now. So let me just take this out of here. I mean, this was fun. I'm not saying this isn't fun, guys, but the next one, I think you'll agree. I think you'll understand what I'm talking about. Let's roll with this guy right here. The old Papa Murkies.
Papa Murkies.
So right away, like this is giving me like vintage like, Pizza Hut vibes. I'm getting
we got some mixed reviews from people. Like, there's some comments of people like, this is just Pizza Hut. It's like, yeah, we know.
I know.
To us, the thing that we thought was so funny is that the beer is called Papa Murkies, which is a pizza chain, Papa Murphy's.
Yeah. And
then so we did the Pizza Hut logo. And then there's a badge on there that says better ingredients, better pizza, better with pizza.
Yeah.
It's just which one? That's Papa John's.
Yeah.
So it's just like all these pizza chains, like slogans, little bits and pieces came together.
Yeah.
And then the can code on the bottom was like another pizza place. I can't remember what it was, but it was like, it's Hoppin' Ready instead of Hot and Ready for Little Caesars.
Yeah. Yeah, Hoppin' Ready.
So we were looking to get sued by 4 pizza places on this one.
Oh man, that's so funny. There was this guy. I just saw an article yesterday. He's got a cannabis shop in Vancouver called Budway, but he's literally taken the Subway logo, like with the little arrows on the type and scripted type and stuff. And the mascot for Budway is a sandwich with pot leaves in it, smoking a joint.
It's fucking awesome.
So, yeah, he's being sued for like $40,000 for Subway or from Subway.
Oh yeah. And that's a kind of a scary line to walk, like with parody. And with this, we felt fine because this beer is a one-off thing. Like by the time a cease and desist came around, it's like this beer's gone.
Dude, shake those dice and
woo! If the client's good with it, I'm like, okay, let's roll with it. But
that's cool. And so give me how this one came to be. So did Slice come to you with this? Is this another one that you guys thought up and brought to their attention? Like, what's the story on this?
Jeremy, or do you need me to say that?
Sorry, I was at that moment. What was asked?
Oh, basically with the Papa Murky's, it was that they came up with the name, and it's actually a collab with another brewery called Pure.
Yep.
So that was the name, and it's a triple hazy IPA, so that's what the Murky came from. And I knew it was a pizza rip, and I remember Jeremy and I talking about it. We didn't even know what we were going to do with it, and I told Russ, I think we're just going to rip off like every pizza place, and he was like, go for it. Like whenever I first started doing it, like it was at first this label was orange and it was looking like super Little Caesars, and then we just went all like vintage Pizza Hut, which is actually they're using all of that again, which has made it a little bit more problematic, but
yeah. That's right. They reversed back to that recently, didn't they?
Yeah, which is a smart move to me. I mean, it's iconic and simple. Like,
yeah.
And then Under the City was a name that they had come up with, and I mean, they are outside of Sacramento in Lincoln, California, and it's a pretty small town. So that was kind of the concept from the name. So, I mean, we illustrated this like Slice building, like their building, and kind of Sacramento in the background, and then this drip. Like, so that one was like, because of their name, like there was almost like a theme to it more than most beers. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, so Papa Murky's, we got this like not rip off, but this like what's the word you use? Parody. Parody. That's like this parody label of a bunch of different pizza places. But the Under the City one, it looks like there's like that's back to that metallic substrate where we get a little bit of show through there.
Yeah.
With a white layer creating some like almost gold, what it looks like.
Yeah, it's a gold coming through, and those hops are like the can coming through, or just straight up the foil,
just the straight up silver stock.
Yeah, and that one turned out pretty rad. I was happy with that one. Actually, super killer beer too.
The West Coast IPA.
Oh yeah,
D IPA.
Yeah, double IPA, Deepa. I don't know if you're a fan of West Coast IPAs.
Yeah,
the clear beer. Slice makes amazing West Coast IPAs. Like, they're so good.
Every time I start talking about beer, I just want to have like a really, really cold one right with me.
I would love to be drinking a beer right now.
It's problematic.
I have some in the fridge, some Slice beers, but they're Jeremy's.
How far away is Jeremy again?
Try it. It's 5.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take him a while to get there. You could get to Slice and buy another set before you get
back. Sometimes there'll be like one or two less beers in my box, but it just depends on how much control Jordan has at home.
That's awesome.
And it's tough. It was tough, even more tough during the pandemic. So it's like, I'm like, damn, I'm stuck at home, and like I have a daughter too. So I'm like, man, she's asleep. I can't even go anywhere and pick something up. I'm like, Jeremy's beers are here.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So earlier on in this, while we were chatting, you guys mentioned that Slice had reached out to you through Instagram. How did that all go down? Like, did they find you as brethren, or did they find you guys separately, or like, how did that happen?
They found us as brethren. He came through the proper channel, which is what we call it, is our email. Like he found us on Instagram.
Yeah.
With DMs and stuff, it gets typically with like client stuff or potential clients. We're usually like, people that DM us aren't usually as serious as the ones that come through the website.
Yeah,
it's just the nature of it.
Yeah. So reaches out via email, says, "Hey, I found you guys on Instagram. You guys do rad work. Let's go."
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. They were still building the building. I don't even think they had just signed on Zach, which is the co-owner and head brewer, and he came from a previous brewing company called Moonraker that was really successful. And I'd never had any of their beers, but I did research on it, and he was like an award-winning brewer. So I was like, damn, I think they're gonna be good. And Russ came from Old Town Pizza, which is actually next door to Slice. He's the marketing manager there, and
Nice.
so yeah, I mean, we got on a call, talked through it, sent our proposal. They signed it. We do like with branding, we do a discovery session, kick out some logos, and then a branding kit. We did quite a bit of work for them on the branding side, and then after we finished all that, everything went so well, and Russ was cool to work with, and he was like, "Hey, our first 2 releases, do you guys want to do the cans for?" And I didn't even know how long this relationship was going to last, so we did 2 cans, and then it just kept going from there.
That's awesome.
Never stopped.
So with those first 2 cans way back in the day, after you've done branding, which is like, the sort of the building of the steps of design and creative, when you're implementing that into a label structure, was that a challenge to sort of get it into that format because it was your first time doing labels?
I don't think it was. As far like the first thing we did was the Crowler, and like the Crowler was 100% like Slice branded.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Slice logo. It's very basic.
Yep.
And it has, the spot for them to write on, has this tagline that we did for them. So, I mean, it just looks like they're branding.
Got it. So that's like the gateway project.
Yeah, it was the gateway one. And then even the other Golden Triangles was one of the first beers we did as well. Whoa! But we kept it in the same color palette as like Slice brand. And this was what I was going to say was the struggle kind of figuring out is that sweet spot in the middle. Like everything is really small on here. And that was a learning curve, I think, for us too, just getting the product and being like, okay, like how, I think back then we should have been printing it off ourselves and sizing it and looking at it. We weren't, and it kind of shows on this. And this can has since been re-released, and we redid it, and it looks way more killer than this. Like,
do you have the before and the after?
I do actually.
You got that newest one?
Yeah, here it is. And this one is killer because we did the foil backing, and then it's just like a little gold.
Yep.
Just 2 color. But we kept the same elements like that little pizza pyramid. Because Golden Triangles, I guess, was like a reference to pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, this.
Man, what a different experience between the 2 labels, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and so much growth and with us like understanding the hierarchy of the size and just the relationship of the label, we grew a lot in between then.
Yeah, because if you haven't designed and that goes for anything in designing print, whether it's a booklet or a postcard or whatever you're designing in print, but especially a label that's going around a specific can or bottle or container. Like if you're not used to the understanding of layout and sizes and the consumer's interaction with that in its, in the cooler or in that environment, it is tough to design it for that and create that.
Sure. And especially like big print projects like books and stuff. I remember when I worked at like an agency, we'd be doing booklets like, whether you're doing saddle stitch or this or that sort of type, if you're doing printer spreads, just the layout of all that stuff. It's like, it's crazy, man. Like, and you have to and we should have with these too. It's like when it's something that's going to be tangible, you need to get to a printer somehow and just do some test stuff yourself.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'll be redoing it, and Slice is in California and we're here in Oklahoma and St. Louis. So it's tough for us to have, we don't get to have that relationship with the printer that would be nicer, and it's like, if Slice all of a sudden was like, hey, we're going to be distributing all of our stuff all over the country, you know, and we started doing like, okay, here's a system of labels. That's the kind of stuff I think would be worthy of like, okay, let's fly out and like make sure quality check everything before we do the first production run. But
yeah, let's do like some test prints and stuff.
Yeah, but you know, with the small batch stuff that we've been doing, it's just been kind of trial and error, and now I would say we got it pretty locked down.
Yeah, Jeremy, do you have a lot of like print design experience, you know, coming into this?
Not in that sense. I mean, I come from screen printing and embroidery, so I mean, I know all about screen printing and pre-production for screen printing. Not so much on, you know, the
paper stock stuff.
But I mean, at school, I mean, I know beads and, you know, and all that shit. So, and
yeah,
I learned about die cuts and whatnot. So, I mean, I have a pretty good understanding, just not so much, I guess, you know, not too much. I don't know what I'm saying now.
No, for sure. You're onto the right track, because when you're doing screen printing, I mean, you got to have a really good understanding of layers and how things are going to build and layer up, and making your file represent that accurately, right? So that even that understanding, having the understanding of layers and why they're so important and how they work together is a huge step to creating, you know, especially labels. When you're setting up a die line layer, then you're setting up a white layer, then you've got your artwork layers. And so building up that, you have the ability to understand that process a lot easier than somebody who's just lived in digital design. Yeah,
for sure. And that's more aligned when you're getting into the cuts and, you know, and doing all that stuff. That's more aligned in the setup of the screen print world. Whereas, you know, if you're doing something digital print, if it's just digital, I mean, you can design it however you want. You can have images, just whatever, you know, transparencies, all that shit. You know, if you're doing that and trying to get a screen print on a shirt, that's not really going to happen. You know, there's simulation process printing, and then there's, you know, 4-color process, but you're not going to be able to do some of those things in the digital world.
Yep, 100%. It's a completely different way of designing and thinking about, you know, when you're creating a tangible object, because when you're looking at screen as well and you're setting up your artwork, doing the design or whatever it is, the paper that you're printing it on, the label stock you're printing on, is going to transform how it actually looks.
For sure.
And if you haven't done it before and you're just looking at a design on screen, you're going to be real surprised when you get a print of whatever that file is in your hands.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And for the people doing production, I'm sure it's a fucking nightmare, you know, when you have people that don't know what they're doing designing for that production. I know I've dealt with it on the screen printing side of having someone like, I made my own artwork and I want this on a t-shirt. And it's like, dude, this is going to take me like 5 hours to fucking make it printable on a t-shirt. And, not a good use of time.
Yeah. I've started receiving Canva files for print.
Yeah.
No, it's not exported properly, not separated properly. And the other one is I've been in pre-press departments when a Word file or an Excel file is submitted for a brochure design.
My God, dude.
It's crazy. Yeah. Crazy times.
And I think a lot of designers get to that point though too, that they're like, you know, you only want to do the creative stuff, and then people kind of dog the idea of like being a production designer or a good production designer. But honestly, if you're great production designer and working with a great art director, however that works, or if you're both of those in one thing, like that's where it really comes together. Like a killer design with like killer production and the right inks and the right print. Like, I mean, that's when things like really fucking shine.
Oh, 100%. That's when things can really sing.
It can it can like boost it another 100%. Like
easy. Yeah. When you get into, you know, especially when you're getting into embossing and foiling and die cutting and, you know, adding all of those specialty elements to help something really stand out or to really deliver something home. So the next one that I want to pull up here is super colorful, and I kind of dig it. I'm not going to lie, man. I kind of dig it. So let's pull this next one up and tell me a story. Tell me what's going on with this one. Just so much illustration happening, so much like font is in like Happy Land.
Oh yeah, Jeremy. About this, Jeremy crushed both of these.
Yeah,
Jeremy, tell me about your fuzzy dreams.
Yeah, Fuzzy Dream. So that one was actually one that that was the one that we did have a different design, and that one was the one that we had to completely throw away and start new. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I think on that one, I think when I was talking to Jordan about, what should we do for it, and then I think you had the idea of like a goddess or
Mhm.
something like that, and then I was like, yeah, I can make his like hair and kind of do like a. I was kind of thinking of like Starry Night a little bit, like the swirl, like
Yeah.
look through the sky or whatever. And then I think, as I'm drawing and stuff and design, I think then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna chop his head off. Yeah.
Well, and this label screams in person too, because Jeremy did all these like nice blue highlights and everything, and like the highlights are foil, and then like the foil's coming through on those. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of like spot like chrome coming through on this stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And gives it like nice texture. And then the Powerful Herbs, I'll throw in a shout out to the font. Powerful Herbs is crap. Now I'm blanking on the name of that font.
Mystic Charmer.
Yeah, Mystic Charmer. But yeah, on that one, it was like, I don't know. I think I just was like, yeah, I want to do like some ornate line work with Powerful Herbs. And I was just thinking of like vines and shit. And then, yeah, I mean, it's weird how sometimes, I can just start making some shit and then it just kind of forms out. I don't even know how like that structure came along. I was making that middle badge, and then I was like, it'd be cool to have like 2 circle badges on the side and make it like super symmetrical. And I'll have these like vines like weaving in and out and like touching at certain spots with the line work and keeping that like consistent black line work throughout it. Yeah. I went hard on this one. I spent more time than usually on certain cans, but that's what happens when when you start really getting into it too.
Yeah, and when you're excited about it, right? You
Yeah,
go to
man.
town and you want to make it really, really cool.
Yeah, the little details, even like where you can see in the center, it's like with the little stripes, the little like seersucker stripes.
Yeah.
Like when it cuts through, it has that vine cutting through. It actually like switches to where it's like a light green, dark green, but it like switches going into that next level. If you can understand what I'm saying. So it kind of has that contrast even in between those spaces.
Yeah.
And creates more pop and just more to look at.
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorite cans. Like in person when we got it, I was like, this thing is freaking beautiful. And like Jeremy did all of this label. Like I think the only thing I did was change the color palette a little bit. Right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. And are these both using the metallic stock?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. I think the Powerful Herbs, I think it's just all around chrome. I think it's the whole label is just chrome.
Yep.
Like using the foil, and then like on that Fuzzy Dreams, that has like spot cut where the foil, where that blue is coming in.
Yeah, where that like dark blue and purple, like the sort of the space background, is that the area that's chrome that's coming through? Yeah.
And then the Powerful Herbs font that Jeremy says Mystic Charmer is one of our fonts. And that's another thing that we do with Slice all the time. Like we haven't released that font yet. So we do that all the time with Slice beers. Like we'll test out one of our new fonts and use them on a beer can, and it's always fun to do.
Yeah.
It's the only time like someone would be like, "What font is that?" And it's not ever.
You're like, it's not even a font. Yeah, and that makes it like super special too, because it's only out there for a month, and it's like, yeah,
it's true. It's sort of like a limited release taste of what the font is to come, kind of thing.
And then we can use that to promote it even later, like a little shout out, like when we're showing cans. Sometimes we'll be like,
that's cool.
using Mystic Charmer. So
go buy it. Link in bio.
Yeah, there you go. Classic. Hashtag link in bio. So you said that Fuzzy Dreams, that was the first one where the concept was sort of turned away and you had to sort of start from scratch on it again.
Mm-hmm.
What was the initial sort of approach on that one, and why do you think it got turned away?
Well, the first one I was doing it, like I came up with the concept, and there wasn't really a concept because we were both like, "What is Fuzzy Dreams?" And I was doing some big like Buddha character, and he was like, he was doing this, and then I was trying to like he was going to be a chimenea, like his belly was open, there was like smoke coming out of it. It was actually really cool looking, but the brewer was just like, I just don't get why this guy's on the can.
Yeah.
They're like, what the hell is this? It's on a dribble somewhere if anyone ever like gets curious to see.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna go find that. I want to have a look at this. That's awesome. So they go, yeah, we're not quite sure about this one, and Jeremy's like, put me in, coach.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that, like, I told Russ too, is like, don't be surprised if that Buddha shows up on a future game. we will pitch it again.
Yeah.
That's right. You got that Buddha. It's just locked in.
Or one day you'll see like a Brethren font, and we'll just name it like Buddha Tits or something. And
I would love to see that on some like brand guidelines. This big professional brand document. Fonts, Buddha Tits.
Use Buddha Tits for all your headliners.
That's our display copy is Buddha Tits.
Yeah, signage made with Buddha Tits. That's awesome.
Gonna have to make a font now called Buddha Tits for sure.
We started, you heard it here, folks, right here.
Yeah.
This is where it's all getting going. That's fantastic. Okay, moving on here, man. We got some awesome ones. So let's get into, I got a couple of pictures on this next one. So tell me what's cooking. The old Foggy Fog World.
Jeremy, how'd this one come about? Dude, well, this is another like true collab like between my brother and I. It's like, you know, tag team in it. Man, I think you did that lockup like of the Foggy Fog World, and then like that cloud. Like, was that from another label? That's a new one for this label, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember saying like draw a cloud like tripping on acid.
Yeah. So yeah, doing that, and then like I think we were going through some colorways, and then we kept it like on that black, and then you threw that rainbow like
that rainbow gradient,
that like iridescent like foil look, and that turned out fantastic. So it's like the black is, you know, matte, and then everything in that color, it's all that foil backing, so it just like shines. And this one with photographs, it just turned out like super like pretty and beautiful, I think.
Yeah, it looks crazy cool
and super fun. I had a lot of good feedback from like my friends and shit on it.
Yeah, and shout out to Kern Club for that font.
Yeah,
dope.
Yeah, if we're not using our fonts, it's usually a Kern Club font on cans for sure, because they're all unique and shit, you know, and interesting. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we created the Fog Eat Fog World. Then you've got that rainbow foil. The rainbow is actually all foil, and all the type and everything else, and the imagery is sort of matted back with that white.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then we actually did a really cool sticker with this one too, and it's that cloud. We did a sticker that was like an iridescent, like chrome sticker, and it turned out awesome. And we did a killer shirt, like the clouds like all the way down it, and I don't know, like we did sleeve prints. Like this release was awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. When was this release?
It was a slight last
summer. Yeah, I feel like summertime.
And this is a collab beer with another brewery called Humble Sea that's also in Northern California.
Awesome. Jeremy, what was like the client side of this when they brought this idea to you? Like, did they come with a name? Did they come with just what the beer was going to be? Like, how did this come to be?
Yeah, just the name and what the beer is, you know. It literally like for most of it's like 90% or 99% of slices, they don't give us like a concept or anything. It's literally just here's the name of it, here's the alcohol ABV, here's the style, and here's the hops that are used in it, or any adjuncts or anything.
Yeah, and the brewery they were collabing with Humble Sea. They call their hazy IPAs. They usually call them foggy IPAs, and it'll be like a foggy double IPA or a foggy IPA. So this beer ended up just being called Foggy Fog World, and there's a hazy. So I don't know. They have a pretty fun style. Like whoever their designer is does some really cool work, and like a lot of their stuff was colorful like that. So that's what kind of brought me on to like doing that iridescent background.
Yeah, that's a cool one, man. I love this one too. There's so many amazing beer labels out there that are just all over North America that I just like, they come across my Instagram feed. I'm like, what? That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. There's so many killer designers out there doing killer work. I just saw, well, I shared one with Jeremy the other day, but the design team or guy that or girl that does it is Sample Co. And I follow their work, but I never really looked into them as what they do that much. But they just redid like the Zilker Brewing Company, and they did like their standards, like their core line. They rebranded all of them, and it's so awesome, like funky, like 70s feeling, like big fat thick lines. Like you'll have to look it up. It's so killer.
Yeah, and die cut labeled too, right?
Yeah, they did a cool die cut label.
Like a special, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to look that one up. So that was Sample Co.
Yeah, Sample Co.
Okay, we'll check them out. There's another one locally here out of Vancouver that I know really well called Best Studio.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a lot for a couple of local breweries. And they've also done a bunch of work that's won like Dieline Awards and stuff, or like packaging work and things like that. But they do some dynamite stuff.
I love what they do. New people.
Yeah, their Christmas the Christmas box that they gave out to all their clients, they actually gave weed to all of their clients for a Christmas gift.
Oh, I'm seeing that, the marijuana.
Marijuana, yeah.
That's like the best Christmas gift.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, and they're using that Ono type company font, and it looks like they've customized it too, so that's super rad.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff. South Side, they've done a ton for a brewery called Steel and Oak, small batch cans, so you can find that on their website too. Some of the cool stuff they've done there.
Oh, I love those Stubbs Rita cans too.
Are those cool?
Man, I want to work on some small cans, like so bad.
Put it out there. Slice, where are you at with those small cans?
Well, small cans, and Slice is supposed to start doing bottles eventually, some barrel aged stuff, and we're excited to have a new canvas with bottles, and I mean, that's a whole different technique too, because like the types of paper can get a little finer and nicer, and like I'm excited to go down that route.
So it's funny you say that with the shameless shout out here, but coming up next week is the launch of the craft beer label design course again, and we actually have part of the course where we're chatting with a gentleman named Josh, who's the owner of Fieldhouse Brewing out here. And he basically talks through the branding process, right from the initial idea and logo to creating logos that are applicable to merch and to signage and to all these different elements, to creating like interior spaces that have the same brand feel. But he also talks about how once you have those core beers established with branding, how do you translate that brand into the really high-end beers, like the barrel-aged stuff and things like that? And he talks about how they did that and what touch points align and how they basically created a mini brand that still falls under the right brand umbrella of Fieldhouse.
That's cool.
So yeah, if anybody listening is interested in that, June 22nd, that course opens up. Nice. All right, guys. So this is the last one that we're going to pull up here. Again, I hope this is using the metallic substrate. I think it is. And let me just open this up. The old neon lights.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you want to talk about this one? Because we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah. So this one, and because this one came after, I think it was Triple XOJ that we did that also had, a neon light, effect with the neon lights. And on that one, we actually, gave it a little like a glow, on the actual like design. On this one, it's just straight up strokes. It has, the white line with a solid, pink and the blue. Yep. But with the chrome, popping out on those lines, it already gives that effect visually when it's already, once it's produced.
Yeah, I can see that in the picture.
Yeah, right. So like, with using the glow effect on like the other one, it's kind of like it was like a little much and like too much glow because it wasn't necessary when you.
Yeah, it ended up looking really muddy
through.
So actually, when you tried to
super clean.
When you try to like fake the glow, it it just came out too muddy. But when you're using the actual metallic substrate with just some strokes, it actually came out super clean. Hey.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And
Like,
it gives that effect, gives the effect that we were wanting, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, honestly, when Triple XOJ comes back out, like when they re-release it, we will probably update that label to using
Take those clothes out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another one of those like learning curves with the print design and like using the stuff like the way it should be, you know.
For sure. Yeah, and definitely like even as they're starting to reproduce some of the labels that we've done, you know, we might even beef it up just a little bit or do like little changes just from either because we thought of something cooler down the line, or just a better use of production, you know.
Mm-hmm. So how did this beer come to be? What's the story on this one?
Same thing. They just had the name Neon Lights, and the name just tells you exactly what to design. You know,
yeah, for sure.
It was like do some neon.
Yeah,
and then I mean, I guess Jeremy, you probably did that triangle mark almost for like a little bit of a nod to pizza back there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's cool to turn the logo into the neon sign too, the slice logo.
Yeah, it looks super cool. They have to make one of those and get it up in the store.
I know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
they do have a killer neon sign though out front, which is a design that we did. That's it's a tap handle, and then the top is like a pizza cutter, and it's like 6 feet tall or something like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's cool. I can't wait to see it in person.
How much did that cost? Like, do they tell you how much that cost?
I can't remember. Because I have a buddy that lives here that's been doing signage for years, and he's great at it. And his bid was a lot more expensive than the guy that Russ had. And man, I feel like he got it for like under 10 somehow. I don't even know if it's possible. But
still a big chunk of change.
That's a lot of dough.
But for a big old neon sign that's going to be there for
building signage, man, that's not cheap.
Yeah.
No. But I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, you see it, you want to take a picture of it, and it's like a landmark at that point, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's your bat signal.
Yeah.
The bat signal.
Yeah.
I love it. Dude, this is another awesome one. So I'm gonna wrap this up here for the listeners and just sort of shut this one down. But before I do, what's the one thing that you guys enjoy the most about designing beer labels?
Knowing that we get to drink it later. No, I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Man, I think with Slice is it's just because they're so cool in the creative freedom, and like, you know, every beer that comes through, it's like we hit each other up, and they're just kind of like we just shoot the shit for a second on our thoughts back and forth, and and how we want to approach it, or like what's the concept going to be. So
that's the same for me as what Jeremy said, the freedom of it, and just like for all the other stuff that we work on, you know, it's
a break.
I mean, there's so much more like rules to it. There's so much more like, I don't know, just decision making, and there's so much more research involved in this for us is like, man, it's an exercise in like pushing ourselves further in a different direction or trying something new. And I don't know, it's just the freedom of it has been so awesome. And then get a
little more daring, a little more experimental on that side of things, where when you're working on brands, I mean, that's like a whole different approach. And when you're doing brand identity, then even, you know, a different approach when you're doing, like when we do graphic kits, you know, that's a whole different approach. And then when we're doing packaging, it's just another different approach. So with all those, it's nice with Slice. I was saying, it's like with that creative freedom, it's like, you know, it's easy. It's like taking a break from, you know, doing something else to getting to do something else, or doing something else.
And getting more experience in just print design in general. Like, I mean, you can look at all the labels that we've done, and you can see us starting to use these techniques like more and more now. because we're starting to get a better grasp on it. And like even just now finally doing a die cut and things like that. There's a lot of things that we haven't tried yet that we're looking forward to trying.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you right, if you ever wanted to create a design that included a big fat Buddha, craft beer is likely the place.
For sure.
Yeah.
That you're going to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, we might be able to throw them in a graphics kit or something.
The next corporate project.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this? Just hang on here.
If we get a skateboarding client, we might be able to throw it in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Jordan, let me ask you this one then. What is that feeling like when you go from something that you've been designing on screen, working on screen, and then you finally get cans shipped to your door and you get to see what it actually looked like, what it actually turned out like?
Oh, dude, it's the best. Like that seriously is my favorite part of designing beer is like getting it in the mail and seeing it. And like even when Jeremy and I are together and we're drinking them, we're like looking at the can. It's like, I mean, because that's why we got into design in the first place. It's like we like making things and seeing it out in the world. Yep. So like getting to experience it and hold it and stuff, it's the coolest thing ever. Like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we work on that we don't get to see in person. So the clients that ship us stuff they're the best, you know, like even some of our apparel clients will send us like shirts and things like that. And that's always cool. But, you know, there's a huge difference between like a t-shirt and then like something that has like foiling and like that. And then also a beverage you can enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the extra perk. Beautiful. So I'll just ask this one last question, guys, and then we'll wrap this up. To the designers out there who are brand new to this, label design world for breweries or for anything really, what advice would you give them to really get started in label design?
Jeremy?
To get started, I mean,
ghost projects, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, if you don't have a client, do some ghost projects. And like you said, like even if you're printing out on a regular printer and then putting a piece of paper around a can and just like a little simulation, to see, like we said, even if we would have done that on our first can, we probably would have approached that triangles a little differently after we printed it out. Like, man, we probably need to size this up a little bit, but that stuff's so important too. Even with all design, dude, really, I mean, when you're designing something, you're just looking at the screen. Like I know even with my brother and I, we'll text, we're working on something, do a screenshot and send it to our text message. And even from looking at it on the computer screen to when I'm looking at it on my phone, like I see stuff, I'm like, oh, I need to like move the spacing here. Like it just like when you're at that screen, you're not always being able to like see those spacing issues or shit like that. So
yeah. 100%. And also I've told other designers too, like if you want to get started in beer label design, like there's tons of bad breweries, like our breweries that have bad can art. Like I don't think it would be wrong to take a favorite local brewery and be like, hey, I'm a designer and for fun I redesigned one of your cans and show it to them and see what they think, I don't know, maybe that is overstepping. I haven't done it personally, but I don't know.
It's a fog world, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story about that. So on the print sales side for selling labels, occasionally I'm in the grocery store, I'm checking labels, looking for local manufacturers, things like that. I came across this one and it had the worst looking label, like on the print side, completely out of register, just looked awful. So I literally took a picture of it and I phoned up the company and I said, hey, what's the best email address to contact you guys? Just got this generic email address. And I titled it, to the owner, the bottle looks bad. And I just sent them a picture and said, this is how your labels look in market. We can do way better. Contact me. What do you think happens? He contacted me.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah, so stuff like that can work, man.
For sure.
Yeah, dude. If you want something, go out there and fucking get it. Like, if you want to work with someone, holler at them, knock on their door, give them a phone call, shoot them an email. That's what I say.
And it's always like, even with design, it's like get some experience in there. Like you don't even have to do things for free, but you don't have to come out of the gate charging so much to get your foot in the door. It's like get some experience behind your belt and then you can start charging more. But
Yeah, and what you were saying earlier, Jeremy, about the sort of doing ghost projects, with digital label printing being so cost effective for short runs now, you could go get 10 or 15 labels printed up like pretty inexpensive and just start experimenting, start trying things, start building a relationship with a printer, because that's another huge part of it. Like having that relationship. In your guys' case, you have the owner of Slice who sort of looks after the print management side of things, but he's got that relationship.
Yep.
And that's important when you need a favor. That's important when you're trying to create something unique and you want a little production feedback on it. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Sure. And it's that's a hard thing to manage if you're not in the same city, but it can still be done.
Yep. 100% it can be done. Beauty. Boys, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks so much for being my guest today on this show. It's been fantastic connecting with you and chatting beer labels and some of the cool stuff you guys have done.
Yeah, dude. Awesome. Thanks for having us. It was good to talk again.
Definitely.
Sure. Nice to talk for the first time. And sorry, my internet was being shitty and that you couldn't see me most of the time. But
yeah, dude, when you're on that budget internet,
I know.
It's tough sometimes.
I mean, I blame Charter or whatever it is. They say.
Awesome.
Love it. Yeah, dude, this is awesome. What a great conversation.